Hey, buddy, welcome to the Amitrace podcast. I'm Tom White, your host. And once again, the Amitrace podcast is produced on the VidPod, your all-in-one solution for a four-person video podcast, including the switcher. And we're using a switcher that takes the barrier to entry down to zero. It's got an auto switch feature, which allows you to hold down a button, and depending on who's talking, you can change cameras, and you're not having to touch it. So it's a really cool device. It really will help you in your production for your upcoming shows. For more information, go to amitrace.com/podcasts, and you can even get your own quote if you're that excited about it. You can do it right there. I'm joined again today by Faraz Ahmed. Faraz, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And today we're going to talk about EDU. We're going to talk about education. That's a big part of what Amitrace is known for. It's how I came to know Amitrace when I was in the classroom, and it's one of those things that I think as the company, it's something that I know because of my role, I'm most proud of what we can do for teachers. So you've been around Amitrace your entire life. Amitrace has played a big role in education. Talk about changes in the EDU market that you've seen in the last 10 years.
So, in Georgia, obviously, it's been a really interesting 10 years for film production, and we've seen kind of the rise and then maybe a leveling out. Let's be kind at this point and say that, a leveling out of production. So that's really driven the CTE programs across the state, right? Because their goal, of course, is to prepare people for the jobs that are out there. So in the last 10 years, we've seen focus really change from doing those morning news shows to kind of adding some of those other things that they want to do, whether that be live broadcasts for their sports and football games and things like that, plays. And then there's also been a huge film push too, because that's where a lot of the jobs are out there. Overall in EDU, especially for the film and AV classes and things like that, I've seen a lot of demand for the quality of productions, not just from the teachers, but from the other stakeholders, whether that be community members or the principal or the CTA director. When they're doing productions, their expectations are high. Putting on a live football production is hard. It's just, there's just no way around it. It is a stressful environment. There are cable pulls, there are cameras, there are kids. We're training everyone. And it's hard to do as professionals, right? I was involved with doing stuff locally and then nationally as well. Even a small production required a lot of very skilled and talented people. So what these high schoolers are doing is just remarkable. But the bar keeps getting raised, right? For us, we have a show that works pretty well. Maybe one little audio issue or one little thing, we consider that a success. The viewers and audience and some of our other stakeholders are really demanding a very high level. And it's funny that they'll catch us and let us know.
One of my favorite things that I've ever shared on social media came from Emory at Harvard mm-hmm. Athletics. And it's a graph. And the straight line on an angle is the viewer expectations. Mm-hmm. But then below that is the ability of the program, because especially in a high school or college, there's a spike and then a drop mm-hmm. and then a spike, and it never gets to that line after that first time because the talent changes, especially in the education space, especially in high school. Talent could change every game, every broadcast mm-hmm. because a kid, they're a kid. They fall in love with it, they don't, or McDonald's calls and goes, hey, I'll pay you $15 an hour to come and make fries. They're going to go to McDonald's if you can't beat that.
And ideally, you do want that rotation, right? I mean, the goal in high school is to really get an idea of all those jobs out there, right? And so that you can kind of figure out which one you would enjoy, which one you're good at. I love that they do that. And yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. There's so many things that that are involved in production work. The thing that kind of keeps coming back to my mind, it's remarkable what these teachers are doing, mm-hmm. right? Because, I'll hear feedback, well, they're not great at this thing or that thing or whatever. It's like, well, how can you expect them? As a professional, I might be a colorist or an audio engineer or an engineer or a switcher, a TD, I should say, or a graphics operator. That's just 4 or 5. There's literally a list of 100 plus of these. A grip, a lighting expert, whatever that might be, a set designer. You want this a teacher to be great at all these different roles teach all these different roles and then do the classroom management. I can't do any one of those things, right? Like, managing a classroom is I just mad respect, and I know a lot of these skill sets, right? Teaching it is hard. Breaking down this complex stuff, and so a student can understand and really resonate with it, and then also it be evergreen enough so that when they are leaving, they can still apply those skills, right? We're not teaching Premiere or Final Cut. We're teaching how to tell a story via, where to do the cuts, where to do dissolves, how to do overlays. So I just think it's remarkable what teachers are doing.
And that's one of the things that you and I have talked about as I see the expectations, the community expectations, and even the administrative expectations on teachers changing in that they've gone from teach the kids these roles to produce content. Like that's what's happening now. Is it's the education isn't secondary to the expectation, but it's really close to becoming. We don't really care what the kids are learning. Can they produce these things? And that's kind of a scary thing. And kind of parlaying off of that, what do you think the education space looks like in 5 years? What do you technology, education, the content? What do you think it's going to look like?
It is so, I have no idea. I have no idea what the AVTF programs are going to look like. I have no idea what the classroom is going to look like. I think it's going to be a lot of change, that's going to happen. It's going to be very, very interesting. There's obviously a lot of different things in play right now. But I think no matter what, students learning how to tell a story is always going to be paramount. I know I've kind of repeated that over and over again, but it's something that really resonates with me. Once you can do that, once you figure out there's a beginning, middle, and end, once you figure out how to hook people, once you can explain a story, it really doesn't matter if I'm going to do it on a video podcast, if I'm going to do it in a Zoom meeting, if I'm going to write it down, if I'm going to make a graphic about it. Being able to your idea, it's not AVTF.
Yeah, and for those that aren't in Georgia, AVTF is what is the state stand for audio, video, technology, and film. That's been the fun part. Is in my education, I right before the film boom and watched not a had some pretty changing a little. We had a conversation about on AI or on AI when it comes to productions. It and how we
Public spec. They're just so important. They are these different things, and draw. I think about everything they can and make. That right. corporate work life um a long list for
You learn another of the things
out. All I see virtual programming production AI more always to write it. Range space. Sit in